Good morning, grade 2s, and welcome back to WorksheetCloud. We are going to be doing some grade 2 maths together today, and if at any time during the lesson or after the lesson you have a question or you don't understand something, then you can just ask mommy or daddy to send an email to grade2@worksheetcloud.com, and we will try and answer your questions as soon as possible. So for those of you who haven't seen me before, my name is Teacher Taryn, and I'm going to do grade 2 maths together with you today, and we are going to learn how to tell the time. Now time, what do we need to be able to tell the time? We need a clock with numbers, but we also, most importantly, need hands on our clock, because the hands on the clock tells us what the time is. So here you can see this clock has 2 eyes, he's got a mouth, and his hands are 2 arrows, and those arrows point towards different numbers. So here's my clock, and here you can see I've got numbers on my clock, and I start over here at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. But on my clock, I'm missing something. I am missing some hands on my clock, so how would I know how to tell the time? So we have 2 hands on our clock, one long hand and one short hand, and that is what they're going to look like. Now they do different things on our clock to tell us different things. The long hand tells us the minutes on the clock. So here we can see the long hand on this clock, and I've taken away the numbers on this clock because the long hand over here either covers up the number or it touches the number, or it's very close to. And this long hand is always much longer than the short hand, so that you can tell the difference between the two. Now this long hand, he ticks all the way around the clock. And he goes in this direction, and this direction we call clockwise. And he ticks all the way around. And he ticks for every minute, he will tick once, those little lines over there. And to go all the way around the clock, he is going to tick 60 times, because it takes 1 hour for him to go all the way around and get back to the start again. So if he ticks 60 times and once for every minute, that means that there is 60 minutes in 1 hour. Now that long hand that tells us the minutes, he has different labels that he can show us. When he is on the 12, he shows us o'clock. So maybe you've already heard of o'clock and half past already at school, or maybe you've already learnt it at home and you might know it, but let's revise quickly what o'clock means. So my long hand is on the 12, tells me o'clock, and that is the minutes. But now the shorthand tells me which hour I am in, and that hour is always a number. Now that number is either going to be one of these numbers all around the clock. So my long hand, when I read the time, I always look at my long hand first. It says o'clock, but now I need to look for my shorthand, and my shorthand is on the 5. So here is my o'clock, and it is 5 o'clock, because the hour hand tells me I'm in the 5th hour of the day, 5 o'clock. Let's look at another example. Now this is the only time where the number is going to go before the label. So I'm still looking at o'clock. My shorthand is on the 8, so it is 8 o'clock. Here's another example. My hand is still saying o'clock. My shorthand is on the 10, so it is 10 o'clock. And my last example, let's see if you can do this one by yourself. The long hand is on the 12, so it's o'clock, but my shorthand is on the 3, so what is going to go over here? Yes, it is 3 o'clock. Now, that long hand doesn't only show me o'clock, it shows me other minutes on the clock as well. And this one, we might already know, half past. Now, half past is when my long hand is on the 6. So there we've read half past. Now remember, we always read our long hand, our minute hand first. It is half past, and now we look for our shorthand, and our shorthand is just past the 1. Now when we look at half past, it means that we are halfway between two different hours. We are halfway between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. So your line is going to be right in the middle of the two numbers. Now that dotted line we never draw or we never see, but that's just for you to see that if that arrow had to extend, it needs to be halfway between those two numbers. Now how do I know that it is 1 o'clock that I have passed? Because the clock, the hand will always tick from 12 and it will tick, 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 tick and go past the 1. So it is half past 1. We are not at 2 o'clock yet, so it can only be half past 1. So here my hand still says half past. And now I look at my shorthand, and if I tick all the way from this side all the way around, and I get to the 10, my shorthand is just past the 10. So it is half past 10. And then if I extend that dotted line, you can see my shorthand is exactly in between the two numbers. So it is half past 10. So let's look at the next one. My long hand is still on the 6, so it still says half past. And now it is half past. I've just gone just past the 4, so it is half past 4. Now that long hand doesn't only tell me o'clock and half past, we are going to learn something new today. That long hand tells me the minutes, and our next minute is going to be in this pink side, between the o'clock and the half past. And when we look at this half of the clock, we always say that the long hand has passed something. So now we're going to look at quarter past. And quarter past means that the long hand is on the 3. So my shorthand, remember, always tells me the hour. And I first look at my long hand. It is quarter past. Now I look for my shorthand. It's on the 4. It is quarter past 4. Or you can see that the shorthand is just past the 4. My long hand still says quarter past, so it is quarter past. My shorthand is on the 8, so it is quarter past 8. It still says quarter past, and my shorthand is on the 12, so it is quarter past 12, or it is just past the 12. So now this side we said was past, and as soon as that long hand gets to the 6, and it says half past, when it starts going to this side of the clock, the green side, then we start looking forward to the next hour. We look 2. So now we're going to look at quarter 2, and that long hand is on the 9 when it is quarter 2. Remember, our shorthand tells us the hour. So let's read this time as quarter 2. Now we look for the hour, quarter to 2. But can you see that shorthand is just before the 2? It's not 2 o'clock yet. It's just before 2 o'clock. And it is quarter to 2. The next one, it is still quarter 2. And now my shorthand is just before the 5. So if we read our long hand first, quarter to 5. It still says quarter 2. And now our shorthand is just before the 8. So it is quarter to 8. So now let's remember that if our long hand is on this side of the clock, it is past. And as soon as it gets to half past at the 6, and it goes to that side of the clock, it is 2. Past and 2. So let's look at the hand now, where he is. Is he on the past side or on the 2 side? Yes, he's on the past side. So let's revise. Our long hand always tells us the minutes of the clock. We always read our time by looking at the long hand first. The long hand is on the 12, it is o'clock. If my long hand is on the 6, it is half past, and that we already know. But let's look at the new ones. We said this is the past side, and that is the 2 side. So if it's on the 3, it's in the past side, so it will be quarter past. And if it's on the 9, it's on this side, in the 2 side, so it will be quarter to. So, if you have a clock at home, go and look at your clock and see if you have a long hand and a short hand. And if the long hand is on the 12, it will be o'clock. And if you wait a little bit longer, as the long hand ticks around the clock and it gets to the 3, then it will be quarter past. And if it ticks from the 3 all the way around the clock and we get to the 6, it will be half past. And then it ticks all the way around the clock back to the 9, and then it will be quarter to. And then from quarter to, it will go all the way back to o'clock, and it will start all over again. That is only our long hand. For us to know what the time is, we need to look at the short hand as well. And the short hand will tell us the hour. So, grade 2s, you are such clever boys and girls. And I hope that you've learned all about telling the time today. And I hope that you're going to go and practice telling the time, because the only way that we will learn is if we keep practicing. So thank you for watching, and this lesson was brought to you by WorksheetCloud. Until the next time we learn something together, grade 2s. Goodbye.